So you've won your offer on the house that you want to purchase, and you're on to inspections. Here's a little video of some information that we share with our own clients on what to expect when you're inspecting. After your offer has been accepted, you will have, in the state of Rhode Island specifically, you will have a 10-day inspection period. Unless you waive it in your offer, and some people do waive the inspection period, you get this by right. There's nothing else you have to do. It's 10 days from the date of contract, so if both parties sign on a Monday, your inspection period starts on the Tuesday the next day. It's 10 days, not including weekends and holidays. So you can look at your calendar. Your agent will do this for you. What should happen is your agent should count the days, reach out to the agent on the other side and say, hey, I'm counting the inspection period to end on X day. Do you agree? So everyone has a target date in mind, and that should go up on the calendar. Not my calendar, but the agent's calendar. In the inspection period, your agent will most likely send you a list of inspectors that they've worked with in the past. We happen to, have 3 or 4 agents on a list, home inspectors on a list, and we share that with our clients. And the reason we give you more than one is that these are third parties. These are not part of our agency. They are not, they don't work for us. We're just giving you information about people that we know that our other clients have given good reviews about. And every agent that I know has some that they work with. You want more than one because your schedule will be such that you need the agent that's available in your time frame. You need to have the inspection done early enough in the inspection period that you're leaving time to negotiate any repairs. So what happens during an inspection? Highly recommend that you attend your inspection and you follow your inspector around. Ask them questions. The whole point of a home inspection, it's the only time probably in the entire time that you own the home that you or someone else will look at the entire house. Once you own it, you probably will respond to any issues that come up. Say, for example, if your furnace stops working, you'll have someone go and look specifically at your furnace, but that person's not going to go and look at everything else in your basement. Bear that in mind as you get the report, because the reality and the truth is that the only time the entire home is inspected is during an inspection. So when your inspection report comes back and you have lots of little things on it, it doesn't mean that the seller didn't take good care of their house. It means that the inspector's doing a really good job and looking at a lot of little things. Following the inspector around is a great way for you to start building a mental list of what your house is made up of. What type of windows do you have? How old are your doors? How old is your heating system? How old is your hot water system? Do you have a wall-mounted heating system? Are you oil or gas? Do you have newer or older electrical? What kind of foundation do you have? Are you stacked stone, or are you poured concrete, or maybe you're brick? By the way, you can tell the age of a house by what type of foundation, because it changed over time. Often the inspector will test all of your appliances. I bet you didn't think to do that while you were looking at the house. Nobody does. I don't. And basically it's just a great opportunity to ask someone who's experienced in a broad variety of home maintenance fields about your house. The inspection report that you get back, depending on who the inspector is, you should get a fully documented with photographs, with good notes on every section that the inspector looked at. That report ideally is going to come to you in binder form. I recommend putting it in an actual binder. There is a home inspector here in town, and I can't remember who it is, that gives you a binder. That's your homeowner's manual. The inspection should be broken down by section of the house or type of thing that was inspected. They tend to go in something like exterior, which would be your siding and your roof and your porch and your stairs, basement, mechanicals. Your mechanicals are basically your hot water system and your heating and your plumbing. It should go into interior, which includes windows and appliances and things like that. You want it to be super organized, and you want photos to go with it. The really good inspection reports will give you a summary page at the beginning or the end, pulling out those pieces of information that are relevant to you as far as negotiations going on to the next step. When you first get that report, you're going to go, oh my God, this house is falling down. Because the report's like, a good report is pages and pages long. But it's descriptive about your house. It's not things that need to be fixed. It's just telling you what your house has. All the houses were built at different times and have different features. You want to ask, what we advise our clients to do is pull out those items, and it's hopefully in your summary page because you've got a top-notch inspector, and your summary page says, hey, you need to fix or you need to address these items. I was advised by my mentor years ago that those items really should be thought of as deferred maintenance and code or safety issues. And deferred maintenance are those things that really should be done immediately as they're needed to be done. That's things like grass growing out of gutters. That's a broken window pane. That's a door lock that doesn't work. That's a heating system that doesn't work. That's a heating system that hasn't been serviced, maybe in 2 or 3 years. That's what we call deferred maintenance. That's different from saying, hey, the water heater's 8 years old. It only has a 10-year life. There's nothing wrong with that water heater. It is functioning. It works just fine. It's not due to be replaced. It's just older. So deferred maintenance would be shingles that are missing on a roof or in my opinion, lifting on a roof. Maybe those need to be addressed to keep the house watertight. It doesn't mean that a roof that's 15 years old and it's got an estimated life of 30 and everything looks good doesn't mean it needs a new roof. So deferred maintenance are items that actually need to be repaired or serviced in the normal course of that house's life. Code and safety items are things like old style stairs, maybe that aren't the right height. This is particularly important if you have a VA loan. They have to be safety. Some of the older houses had different rules for how tall railings had to be. If you have I think the term is, the brand name is a Western Reserve or a Federal Reserve type electrical box. Many insurance companies will not insure that electrical system, so those need to be updated. You might have one that's so common, and realtors that watch this will all recognize double-tapped circuit breakers. Those need to be repaired. Does not mean that the homeowner has not taken care of the house. It just means that as things go on, it's easy for little things to pile up on each other, and now that the house is transferring hands, it's time to make those changes. So once you get your list, you want to have a quick chat with your agent. If it's one of us, if Warner Realty Group, we're going to be calling you in advance. There are 2 forms, and here is where it's really important that you have a skilled, educated, experienced agent. And if you have a new agent, you need to make sure that agent's working with a good coach or a mentor. There's 2 steps to the repair request process. There are 2 documents, and many realtors, in my experience, not many, enough that it can be problematic. Your really good, experienced realtors are going to come to you with what's called a buyer's request for repairs and or modifications. This is the first step of this process, and this is the written agreement between the buyer and the buyer's agent on what the agent's going to go back and negotiate with for the listing agent. In other words, you're going to have a phone call with that agent. You're going to go over the report, and you're going to think about what you want to ask for, and your agent's going to make some suggestions, and you guys are going to think about it. You want that written down. When your agent sends you that on this document called a buyer's request for repairs, you want to read this. You want to make sure it's what you said you wanted. That conversation is just very naturally free-flowing, and it's very possible that you remember it one way and your agent remembers it another way. This protects both of you. It protects your agent and protects you. So make sure you get a written request for repairs. The request for repairs will have a section. It's going to be up on your screen. There's a big block. Your agent can fill it in. It does say, so the buyer, this also gives you a notice of termination. This is your first step. If the seller refuses to give you the repairs that you want, it says the buyer notifies the seller that the agreement is null and void, and buyer shall have the right to the deposits in accordance with the buyer almost always gets the deposits back if if the requests are not met or done in an acceptable way. You get your deposits back if you don't get a repair addendum that's acceptable to you. So this first document is called the request. Once you do your negotiation and you guys have an agreement on what the seller is going to do for you and you, buyer, have accepted that, you're going to do an addendum, which is the written agreement of what you finally decide on. Time is of the essence. You'll notice that in section A. Time is of the essence is a legal term, and it means that if things are not done within the prescribed time, the contract is automatically null and void. You don't have to do anything. It's void. So you need to be moving along. You need to make sure you have an agent who is paying attention, who is organized, who takes this very, very seriously. There's a lot of people jumping in the real estate market right now, and we're excited to see new agents coming on board. But there are new and older agents that people use because they're your buddy, and you got a lot of money on the line here. So please work with a professional. This stuff's important. Section B here, once the seller gives the buyer the repair addendum, the repair addendum gets signed within the 10-day period. You just have to agree within that 10 days. Understand you can extend that 10 days if you need to, but once you have the addendum, the seller then really has until closing date to make those repairs happen. So don't worry if you're asking for a repair that might take a little bit longer. The seller doesn't have to complete the repair within the 10-day inspection period. You just have to come to an agreement on what will be done, and then the repairs can be done before closing. And on those rare occasions that you may have an agreement that something's done after closing, that's a hairy situation. Please make sure you have attorneys involved and everybody's really very, very aware of what you're agreeing to. So that's the request. That goes, you will sign it. It will go to the sellers. The sellers will either, actually the sellers do not sign the repair request. The repair request is strictly between the buyer and the buyer's agent so that the buyer has eyes on what their agent is asking from the listing agent. The repair request is then, once it's agreed, it comes back as a repair addendum. That's the next document you'll see. The repair addendum is actually going to be part of your purchase and sales agreement. This is after your conversation back and forth, the seller says, okay, yes, I'll do this. I will repair this. I will not repair that. I'll give you a credit, whatever you agree on. There are a couple sections on this. First, you're going to sign that you've agreed on a certain number of repairs and that the document has a section to be signed for that, just saying, hey, we have an agreement. Then there's a section in the document that when the seller's all done with what they're going to do and they have all their receipts for you or photographs or whatever you've agreed on, they're going to send it back again and say, hey, we're all done. Do you want to re-inspect? You'll re-inspect and sign that. Then there's a third time you sign this document, and that's the satisfaction of inspection contingency. And that's just when you've reviewed what the seller's going to do, and you've said, yes, this is great, and you sign that off, and you're all agreeing that all repairs are made. So it is a little bit complex, but it's designed to be taken in steps. It's designed to make sure that you're really clear on what you want and that you get what you want and that there's no confusion when you do your walkthrough before closing and you don't turn to your agent and go, oh my gosh, we said they had to repair the dishwasher, and your agent's looking at you going, what are you talking about? You never said that. Do it in writing the whole way. Try to take the time to work it out as you go. It's tiring and it's difficult, but a top-notch agent is going to be doing this for you anyway. So remember, 2 documents, request for repairs, seller's addendum, and always hire a professional real estate agent. Congratulations, good luck in inspections, and talk to you soon.